connected. We all knew what was happening, what were the areas that we need to focus on. We serviced the entire requirement with very, very low inventory, and we started to do direct sales from our factories, to make sure that the transit time, etc., was reduced and even the costs were reduced. From a procurement standpoint, it wasn't easy as well. There were, obviously we buy a lot of raw materials, and getting all of them in the right measure to the right factory was critical, and it was very difficult as well during those times. But our procurement teams just did fantastically well to get the availability going. And obviously the support functions did really well to make sure that everything was being monitored and supported through this period. The next page, it was pure passion that was seen during this period from all of the Britannia employees. Some of my favorite stories are on this page. Area sales managers, finance managers, HR managers, purchase, factory, customer service, all of them just getting together and doing some exceptional work to make things work and to make sure that the business moved in the right direction. The results of what we were able to achieve are on the next page, which is page 10. So our revenue grew by 26.5%. Our operating profit grew by 91%, and our profit after tax grew by 117%. So operating profit was 19.8%, went up by 670 basis points, and that was 16.1%, going up by 675 basis points. We also focused on our strategic plans to whatever extent we could. Now, you've seen the strategic plans: distribution, marketing, innovation, cost focus, and developing adjacent businesses, and obviously striving for profitability. Just a few indicators on that. From a distribution front, as I said, we had dropped from 21 lakh outlets direct distribution to under 20 in March, but slowly, steadily we moved that in the right direction, and now in June we are back to 21.5 lakh outlets. Rural distribution again, it had come down from March to April, but in June we are back to 22,000 distributors, rural distributors. So that's moved up as well. If you look at our marketing efforts, we were optimizing our marketing efforts because we didn't have enough product to be put into the market. So we did just products where we had the right, the product as well as the inventories with us. Marigold, which was ongoing promotion, it's done really, really well for us. Marigold is today, I would think, it's become this property we own for the last 3 years. It's about supporting the woman entrepreneur in fulfilling her dreams of starting a business. And here we partnered with some government agencies as well. So we went through with that and with great results. There were 10 winners of 10 lakhs each. 10 lakhs were invested in their businesses for their dreams to come true. So this has become a property that we are going to support on an ongoing basis. Besides that, not in the first 2 months, but in May and June, when we started to get some product in for NutriChoice, Good Day, and for some of our cream products, we started to support them from an ANSP standpoint, and that started to give us good results. The next page, innovation. Innovation results, frankly, are not bad at all. We pretty much did our innovation numbers for this quarter, despite the fact that innovation was not a priority, and we did deprioritize some of the products which required smaller runs. But despite that, our innovation numbers were reasonable, and we were able to even launch 2 new products. We launched Lassi in 2 flavors. This is not pan-India right now. It's just going pan-India as we speak. We started with the east, moved to the north, and then we moved to west and south. We also did layer cake rupees 5, which again started from the east because east is the biggest cake market, and we are spreading this as well across the country. Both of these products have had very good response despite the circumstances. With people not going out, we've seen a very good response to both of these products. And then finally, from a cost control standpoint, there were quite a few things that we focused on. And clearly, there were some cost increases that had happened due to the overall environment. So safety requirement, etc., was an additional cost. Shortage of manpower was creating a situation where we had to give incentives to the manpower which is coming and running our factories. Vehicle availability was an issue, and hence there was a premium that we had to pay to transport our product from our factories to the depots to the distributors, etc. So there was some additional cost, but there were areas which we optimized on. So one was the mix. So we used the 80-20 rule, and 20% of our brands and SKUs would give us 80% of our total revenue were focused on, and that gave us not just better productivity and better manufacturing capacity, but it also gave us a lot of efficiencies in terms of the factories and the distance traveled by the product, etc. So that was the first thing that we did. Now we are back. We've got in variety once again, but during the first 2.5 months, we had to prioritize. So the priority went to the cream segment, which was Good Day and our cream products, Milk Bikis, Marie, and the digestive Nutri Choice. So those were the ones that we prioritized. And these were all high throughput varieties. From an efficiency standpoint, we did linear billing through the month, as I've already spoken about. Distributor stock reduction to almost half of what it used to be. Low distributor attrition, because obviously the distributors were at this point in time with lower investments making better returns. So we hardly had any distributor attrition during this time. We reduced our market returns, and in fact, they were almost zero during this period. Also, we reduced advertising and sales promotion spends because we didn't have enough product to feed the market fully. So till the time we started to get full products, we optimized on that as well. From a back-end standpoint, we had zero stock write-off, which is impossible to have in any business. We reduced the distance to market by, in the first month, it dropped considerably from 370 to almost 320 kilometers. It's again slowly going up as we start to make variety, but it was just something which helped us optimize our business at that point in time. Direct sales from factories also gave us efficiencies. Depot space we reduced wherever necessary because our inventories were low, and there was a lot of product which was going directly from the factories to the distributors. And then all of the wastage reduction throughout the system was at all-time low. From a cost reduction standpoint, our working capital had come down considerably because of reduced inventories, reduction in debtors. We leveraged our overheads and our factory costs and our employee costs during this period because of the top-line growth, and we avoided discretionary spends and we renegotiated contracts wherever we could. So that was, what we did from a cost standpoint. The next page talks about our adjacency businesses as well. This was one quarter where every business fired. So international, also grew at a fairly good pace. Middle East came back to growth, albeit single digit, and the rest of international grew very strong double digits. In the bakery adjacencies, bread and rusk grew very aggressively, even faster than biscuits, even faster than our overall growth. And dairy, within dairy, cheese growths were fantastic. And the ones which are on the go did take a little bit of a hit. So any impulse product took a hit, and as a result of that, Winking Cow did take a little bit of a backseat during this period. But cheese was just fantastic during this period. So with that, and we also had this new campaign on cheese with Saif Ali Khan, which gave us good momentum. So as a result of this, if you were to go to page 18, that shows how our revenues grew. So if you were to look at the average of 17-18, we grew our revenues 10%, in 18-19, 12%. In the year 19-20, our revenue growths were very low at 4%. And then in this quarter, we've grown at 26% revenue growth. So we are delighted that on a reasonably large base, we've been able to grow our revenues at that rate. On a commodity side, which is page 19, the overall inflation was low at about 3%. On flour and on milk, we had a deflation, while there was gentle inflation on sugar and a steep inflation on RTO, but towards the end of the quarter, we saw that also softening a bit. So the forecast on the monsoon seems to be good, and the harvest seems to be pretty good. So we are positive that the commodity, gentle commodity inflation would continue and not change into anything else. So that leads us to our profitability chart, which is page 20, which is, we grew, at 91%. Consolidated operating profit grew 91% to 669 crores during this quarter. And it went up from, so if you look at the thing that I'm very proud of is the continuous progress that we made. So if you look at our profitability, it's gone up from 13.8 to 14.3 in 18-19 to 14.5 in 19-20. And this quarter is obviously, out of the park at 19.8%. Going to the next slide, and which talks about the total numbers for the quarter. So net sales grew 26.4%, operating profit grew 91%, profit before tax went up by 88%, and profit after tax went up by 117%. The ratios at the bottom, profit from operations is at an all-time high of 19.8% from 14.5. Profit before tax from 16.1 went up to 21.8, and profit after tax went up from 12.3 to 16.1. Now, to the last slide, I think these are very, very uncertain times. So it's very important that we keep our bearing, we keep a very close watch on how things are panning out. Consumer behaviors are changing every day. Distribution models are being tweaked every day. So keeping an eye on that is very, very critical. Adapting quickly to the dynamic environment that exists today, whether it be from a manufacturing standpoint or from a front-end standpoint, also very, very critical. So we are making sure that we stay connected, not just internally, but externally as well, to figure out where this is all going so that we can remain on top of that. we are creating a culture where we do not go by whatever we hear or whatever we feel. We have to start challenging the status quo, and each one of us in Britannia is doing that all the time. Knowledge sharing is very critical, and obviously, building and maintaining the nimble culture that we've seen, so beautifully pan out during this quarter. So that's where we are at. There are a lot of other things that we're doing, to make sure that the support which is necessary to take this very uncertain circumstances through. So we are in the process of, implementing S/4HANA, and we are building a new, distribution system, in terms of the IT system for our distribution. So a whole lot is happening to make sure that we become digitally very, very strong in this year, and we keep the pace that we've got in the first quarter. In these circumstances, which don't seem to be changing in a hurry. So that's where I am. Very happy to open the house for questions.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Before we start, I would like to remind all participants, please limit your question to 2 per participant. You may come back in the question queue if you have a follow-up. We take the first question from the line of Abneesh Roy from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. My first question is on the adjacencies. So first is on cheese. You had lost market share 5 quarters back, and then you had said that you'll reduce the price differential between you and Amul. I still see very big price differential between you and Amul. Now milk prices have crashed, and you have done reasonably well in cheese. So could you clarify how is the market share in the last 5 quarters, and still why there is a big price differential? So do you get a benefit of the milk prices with a lag because of Amul's direct sourcing? They get the benefit much earlier.
Well, that's true. There is a little bit of a lag because of our contract packing mechanism. But having said that, I think it was this period was all about availability. Because even Amul was not able to make their products available throughout the country, and I think availability played a big part. Our premium over Amul hasn't changed very much. We do have the same kind of premium that we've always had, and that will change once we start to get our plant going, which will be in another 18 to 20 months. Work has started there, and that will create a flat playing field. So that's where we are at. But I think overall, at this point in time, it was all about making sure that you got your product in the right place, because people were sitting and consuming this product at home, and availability for most companies wasn't great.
One follow-up here. Rusk and bread has grown faster than biscuits. So some sense you can give in 2 years, how is the movement of bread plus rusk as a percentage of sales? And what should be the reason? Is it because bread is more of a daily consumption, as in it can replace a meal? So that's why higher offtake. And what was the reason for rusk, if any?
So it's basically, I think, it's the percentage of home consumption for each one of these categories. I think the home consumption for bread is almost 100%. The home consumption for rusk will be slightly higher than what it is for biscuits. And I think more than that, so I think it was also our ability. See, you've also got to remember that in rusk, the number of small players in local areas is a lot more than what it is for biscuits. So those players were definitely impacted during this period because of cash flow issues, etc. And due to the sheer grit and hard work of our team, availability was way better than anyone else. And during times like this, what happens is that consumers usually gravitate towards the most favorite brand. So I think all of those factors added up to bread and rusk doing really well for us.
Varun, my second and last question is on the overall business. So last 7 days, other FMCG companies are saying that things are again become quite tough because lockdown has come back in most of the states. In your case, lockdown has an adverse impact on other companies. So are you again seeing a pickup in, say, Bihar, Bangalore, or Bengal, etc., wherever lockdown has come? Are you seeing a pickup or the trend is now sustaining which was there earlier?
It's more or less sustaining, Abneesh. It's a sustaining trend. I don't think it's accelerating any further. But the uncertainty continues. To an extent, this is going to linger through.
Okay, Varun. Thanks a lot. That's all from me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Percy Pankhati from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, team. Varun, I know the syndicate data right now is all over the place, but to the best of your ability, if you could give me an estimate out of this 25-26% growth you've done, how much is on account of industry growth and how much is on account of market share gain?
Very difficult to answer that, but what from our understanding of what's happening in different states and different companies, it does seem that we are certainly ahead of the market in terms of growth in most categories that we operate in. And that's because of our brand. It's because of the hard work put in by the team in terms of producing, manufacturing the right products, and then distributing them in the market. So I think we had an executional edge, which has certainly got us share during this period.
And do you think this share gain is sticky, or will it sort of revert once these other players also are able to ensure availability?
Well, I would think a bit of both. There will be some players with not with some kind of a cash issue at this point in time who could face issues in the long term. So, and obviously execution and support at this point in time goes very well with our distributors and our retailers, because they remember that when they were in trouble, there was one company and one brand which was still supplying product to them. So there's some amount of loyalty that definitely sticks. So I would think that there will be a lingering effect of this as well.
Right. Secondly, obviously the industry itself has benefited because of change in habits on account of people staying at home. So just wanted to get your view. I mean, once the lockdown starts opening, and it has opened in many places, at least to a large extent, do you see that trend reverting? And I mean, let's say 3-4 quarters down the line, when supposing the virus is almost completely gone, do you think that this kind of performance that you have done will sort of present a very high base, and it's difficult to grow on that base from then on?
We are in a situation where we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So it's a very, very uncertain circumstance that we are going through. But what we've seen in the past is that once you build a base, then you find ways of growing beyond that. So we might not see similar growths as we go forward, but obviously we will strive to grow over the base we would have created.
But as of now, since the lockdown has opened, you have not seen a deceleration in your growth rate as of, let's say, the last 15 days or anything like that?
It's too short a period to really talk about. You've seen the numbers for the 3 months. We told you that the first 2 months of the quarter were at about 24%, and we ended up at about 25-26%, actually more than that for the third month as well. Very, very difficult to say really. But I would say that we are not seeing a significant downtrend in growth numbers over this period.
Lastly, one bookkeeping question. Your other expenses has seen a YY sort of contraction of 450 basis points of sales. How much of this is attributable to lower A&P spend?
So there is about we spent less on A&SP, which would probably be about 200 basis points or so. But the rest is all leveraging fixed costs, etc., because of the top line growth.
Okay, that's all from me. Thanks and all the best.
Yeah.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Shirish Pardesi from Centrum Broking. Please go ahead.
Hey, hi Varun and team. Thanks for the opportunity. I hope everyone is safe at Britannia. I have two questions. The first question is broadly on the category. Would you be able to give a sense? I'm sure June number may not be out, but in April and May, what is the category growth? And the reason why I'm asking is, if I go by your quarter four commentary, you said the category growth is sub 2-3%. So what is the category growth would have happened in April and May?
Impossible to say at this point in time, but I would think that it would be a double-digit growth for sure.
And in your past experience, do you think this category growth will prevail at least for next 2-3 quarters?
The situation is such that it doesn't seem to be going away. So yes, I would think so.
Okay. And my second question is on the ICD. Would you be able to give some color what has happened June ending?
June ending?
Yeah, I mean the quarter ending. What is the status on ICD? Outstanding.
Venkat, would you like to comment?
Yeah,
we are working from home, so we are not together, unfortunately. Because
okay.
It's completely shut down.
So the group ICDs are within the limits approved by the board and is in the same range of the total investments.
Right. And I think Goer has repaid.
This is as of June, you are saying, Varun?
Yes.
Okay. My last question is on the raw material. We saw that RP is going higher. But do you think this trend, what we have seen in margin expansion, I mean, broadly it is because of ad spend, and assume that ad spend will come back. But do you think the rest of quarters will still have a story because we have revisited all the costs and there is a cost containment which you have already said about and you are going to rejig the distribution. So is there any one-off item which will come in next 2-3 quarters because of distribution rejigs?
Well, there certainly are opportunities that have emerged because of this situation. We've been, as you know, that we've been getting almost 2% of our net revenue as savings or efficiencies every year. And every quarter I get this question from all of you that how long do you think this is going to continue? And my answer always has been that we see, that this is going to continue for a long time. What has emerged during this time are opportunities, and clearly these were unearthed by our team, and now we are trying to see how we can make them as a permanent fixture within the way we operate. So some of them obviously will be one time, but there will be opportunities which we'll take forward and try to see how we can make it as an integral part of our P&L and of our business.
All right. Thank you, Varun, and all the best to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Manoj Menon from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, Varun and team.
First of all, congratulations for an extremely good execution which you guys have, the team has demonstrated over the last 3-4 months. And I say this with all seriousness actually, because it's one thing to be the business on autopilot. The second is to actually come out of autopilot and actually say that you want to actually pilot it. I genuinely mean it, because we cover about 25 stocks and we find Britannia to be one of the top on execution. The question here is beyond biscuits actually, and I also observed that a lot of the questions in the short term. Honestly, I'm not going to ask you any of that because it's a little unfair, because there is no genuine market research which is feasible at this point in time. The question is actually on.
You have to come a little closer to your mic. Your voice is cutting a bit.
It's better?
Yeah, it's a little better. Speak a little slower and come a little closer to the mic. Yeah.
Sure. The question is actually on the new ventures which you have outside of biscuits. The reason I'm asking this because we have looked at closely about, or we have listened to the management approaches about ramping up dairy and snacking, croissants and a lot of the other businesses. Now biscuits will have its own trajectory. But the question here is is there anything which is changing to your medium-term outlook on each of those sub-segments, whether it is dairy, croissants, so each of those actually, right? There are about 5 of them actually. So I just want to listen to your thoughts on, on this.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, this was a period where it was not about variety. So there were some which were completely deprioritized because we were short on, manufacturing manpower. We were short on distribution manpower. We were short on, all sorts of things, right? There were plants which were shut and all of that. So it was about getting, the top 3 or 4 brands out of the door. So, but that was a short-term thing. Now, coming to long-term, dairy for sure is a big priority for us. We've started to implement our project, and we are in a process where I think in about 20 months or so, Vinay Kushwaha, you can comment on this after I finish. But yeah, in about 20 months or so, we should be in a position to start to do commercial production on our dairy, project. So that's and we are betting big on that. I think there is tremendous potential there because it's such a large market. Croissants, we are, because it's a first-to-market product, we just want to make sure that we fine-tune it extremely tightly. And I must say that during this period, any kind of market research was a no-no. There was no way that consumers were either going to come to a central point to try out products or would let anyone come into their house to, get them to try products. So we've not been able to move very much on our, research. So there has been a little bit of a setback, maybe 2 months or so. But we are confident that by the third quarter of this financial year, we should be in a very good place to have had a fantastic product with exactly the right marketing mix to be in the market. And I still maintain that it's a product which has got legs, and it's going to do extremely well in the Indian market. So that's the second. Wafers have been doing well for us. Again, during this period, it did take a little bit of a backseat in the first 2 months, but it's coming back, and we also are investing in wafers to make sure that we have all the right manufacturing platforms to get all the right formats as far as wafers are concerned. So we will be investing in a wafer line in our plant in Perambalur and thereafter in Ranjangaon. So that's a good business which we are looking forward to growing as we move forward. Salty snacks, again, we are in a situation where we are test marketing it and fine tuning it, and research again has taken a back seat. So it will take a little more time, but I think we'll be again with the right marketing mix out in the next 3, 4, 6 months as well, as soon as things get a little better. Dairy drinks has been again a category which has been extremely good for us. We launched Winking Cow and it's done very well for us. We first launched the milkshakes, and recently 1.5 months back, we launched lassis in two flavors, and both of those are doing well, albeit it's on the go product, so it's not growing as we would have expected it to. But that's true for all drinking products in the market. So that's where we are at. I wouldn't say that we've hit the ball out of the park, but I would certainly say that we are on the right track as far as adjacency businesses are concerned.
Understood. Thank you. That is an extremely comprehensive response. Thank you for that. Actually, you addressed each of those lines. Only follow-up, if I may, on the same question is, how are you looking at the next 12, 18 months? Given the context of the economy, given the context of the unorganized competition, or the relative competition in general, in conjunction with the opportunity for large players like you to probably buy media properties, relatively cheaper. How are you looking at ramping up, some of those or all of these newer opportunities beyond, the opportunity which you got in biscuits from the last 3 months?
So we will discuss that in detail. That's a very big question with a very big answer. So Manoj, I'll have to sit one-on-one on that with you. But certainly we are looking in that direction.
Thank you, Varun, and all the very best to you and team. Brilliant performance.
Thank you.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Aditya Soman from Goldman Sachs. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good evening. A couple of questions from my end. So firstly, in terms of capex, any sort of guidance on what the capex is likely to be, especially in the context of this big dairy plan that you have over the next couple of years?
Yeah. So the point, Aditya, is that one, obviously the dairy investments that we are looking at. But beyond that, what really is coming through now is that even the manufacturing capacities that we have today are falling inadequate for our requirements. See, we operate very tight. We operate with a maximum headspace of 10%, right? And this has been way beyond that, right? So growing 26% is way beyond what we'd expected. So there will be obviously the dairy capex, but beyond that, we are looking at 5 more facilities. So there will be augmentation of manufacturing capacity in our Orissa plant. We are looking at putting up a new plant in Bihar, a new plant in Tamil Nadu, a new plant in UP, which is UP, by the way, is emerging as the second largest market for us now. So, and we don't have any facility in UP. We've only got a factory in Uttaranchal. So UP, so it's Orissa, then Bihar, Tamil Nadu and UP, and we will require a few more lines in our Ranjangaon facility, which is also a very large facility. So that's what we are looking at, which could, in the next 2 years or so, which could mean an additional capex of approximately 700 crores just for our bakery products. And beyond that, capex is for dairy as well. So, we will require capex to take this momentum forward.
Understand. So you said you'll have a normal capex, and in addition you'll have an additional capex of 700 crores for bakery. Did that get okay?
Yes.
Understand. And second, over 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Understand. And just the second question following up on the earlier one. So one is you mentioned markets like UP, which is now emerging as your second largest market, what has there been any change in the market itself over the last couple of years, or is it that continuous strategy that you've driven sort of distribution and penetration in that entire Hindi belt?
Well, this year has been like the biggest change possible, and we are coping with that. So I would say that every day is a new day in the current circumstances. So we've got to just make sure that we deal with the ambiguities on a day-to-day basis and deal with them in a nimble-footed way.
Understand. And do you think this is just a function of, more people going back who are earlier in cities and then consuming some of those products in the states, or is that extremely difficult, I would assume?
No, I don't think that is making a difference. I think it's about the two things that I've always spoken about. Basically, it's home consumption, and it's a strong brand, which is obviously becoming a magnet for most consumers.
All right. Thanks a lot. Very clear. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Latika Chopra from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Thank you, and congratulations, Varun, for an impressive performance again this quarter. My question was more on distribution reach. What scope do you see to enhance the direct reach further? And also, if you could comment on how the rural revenue share is now panning out for you, and how is the share of modern trade and e-commerce panning out for you now?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. Our share has been going up in most channels. But if you were to look at the three channels, you will see that, if you were to look at traditional trade, our growths have been just fantastic this quarter. So our growths have almost been 30% higher than our overall growths for the total company. And the reason for that is that we've made some significant progress as far as our rural agenda is concerned, and we've added some distributors, added towns and villages to where we reach, etc. So I think that's one. Second is from a modern trade perspective, modern trade has been hit, right, very clearly from overall category growth perspective and also from our growth perspective. So modern trade has two or three components to it. One is, the stores that you have, the modern trade stores. And a lot of these stores have been shut because they're in malls and, they're in big towns, etc. So there has been some amount of downside on the growth of that channel. And one of the modern trade operators has been under stress. So that has also impacted the modern trade growth. E-commerce has been on a very, very different trajectory, up 300%. They were also struggling in the beginning, but they caught up pretty quickly, and they've really ramped up the business that they do. The alternate channels, which is the institutional business, which is railways, etc., airlines and institutional canteens, etc., that has taken a big hit, because everyone's working from home. So that's where it stands. So I think as we go forward, our focus will remain on rural and traditional trade, and we will try to build back our modern trade growths as well. As the growths of that category and that channel grow, we would like to build that as well. And e-commerce, I think, will continue because people have now gotten into that habit of shopping online. So I think that's a channel which, although it's still only 1% of our total business, but it will continue to grow pretty aggressively.
And where would rural revenue share, rural contribution stand in your overall revenues now?
It's very difficult, Latika, because, how do you define rural? Do you define it like, Nielsen defines it, or, we've got a different way of doing it. But the way we do it, it's about 37% of our total revenues.
All right. And just lastly, for the quarter, what was your underlying volume growth? What was the component of pricing, if any, and the mix contribution to the growth rate?
So I would say that 26.5% was our total growth, out of which about 21.5 was volume, and the balance 5% was half and half between mix and price.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and all the best.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Krishnan Sambamoorthy from Motilal Oswal Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Your annual report indicates that about 2% of sales came from new categories. This is interesting because most of these categories are fairly new year present. Since salty snacks as well as croissants are in test marketing phase, therefore a lot of these contribution, as I understand, comes from Winking Cow as well as cream wafers. Am I right in my understanding that?
Yes.
Okay, that's really remarkable. And so, what's driven, particularly, I think, since cream wafers itself is a smallish market, I think a large part of the contribution may have come from Winking Cow. Anything to highlight on what has been?
No. Yeah, no, it is a small market as of now, but I think we've got reasonable business going there. Gunjan, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah.
Growing at about 40+%.
Yeah, the category is expanding pretty fast, and as I think Varun talked about, I'm talking on wafers right now. And the other thing is that it's also exploring new formats, and that is something that we are working on also parallelly. While we have made some decent inroads in the start of the business, but I think there's a lot of potential, and worldwide, the wafer segment is a pretty large segment and has decent comparison to even biscuit as a segment. So there is potential. I think the Indian market is slowly getting used to it, and we being one of the largest national players playing in it will hopefully aid that entire journey of that segment. So we see good promise on that. On milkshake, which is the other one, I think you rightly said that both of them have led the charge as far as the last year goes, and hopefully going forward. But milkshake has been a good entry, and as I think you saw in the presentation, lassi has been the addition in the last quarter.
Understood. Thanks a lot. The other question is regarding ICDs, just a clarification. At the end of the March quarter, the group ICDs were about 600 crores. Varun mentioned that Go Air has repaid. Is that entirely repaid? And if so, what's the group ICDs at the end of this quarter?
The group ICDs are about the same level, but there's no longer any ICD to Go Air.
Understood. And there was last year, there was also a 50 crore exposure to Sterling and Wilson Solar, which was repaid by the end of this year. Has there been any fresh exposure to Sterling and Wilson?
No. Venkat, please comment.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's all from me.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Richard Liu from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. Varun, can you help us visualize your gross margin bridge?
Richard, your voice is not clear, Richard.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
Varun, so what I was asking is, can you help us visualize your gross margin bridge that was there during the quarter? The expansion is quite a bit when compared to what we saw in the March quarter. So my question really is that how much of the gross margin expansion was contributed, from a mix perspective, since you were selling only a few select SKUs? And while on this, can you also explain the divergent trend in standalone gross margin and consol one? The subsidiaries margin expansion seems to have been, totally out of the park. And is there some intra-segment movement that's involved in this?
Venkat, I'll let you answer this.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So the top line of subsidiaries has been about 60+% growth. This has been led largely by dairy that Varun was talking about. Within that, the growth was largely led by cheese. So, that explains both the top line growth and the profitability. Right? So there's nothing. So the second part is also what Varun talked about. rest of international grew by a very, very healthy, so it grew faster than overall business of Britannia Group. So, these two are highly profitable. Dairy within that cheese and international. And this grew by over 60% in this quarter.
Okay. Yeah. And the gross margin bridge from mix?
So, mix would not have made too much of a difference. Yes, it was there. But the impact of mix would have been roughly about a percentage, 1 to 1.5% at best.
Mm-hmm. So so what I was asking is that if I look at a March quarter gross margin, it was in the ballpark of 38-39%, which has now become 41. So this 2.5 percentage point expansion that we saw between March and the June quarter, you're saying 1.5 percentage out of this is because of mix?
Correct. Yes. So balance is on account of deflation. So, April, May, June is the season for wheat. So typically we see that, and also RPO, which was highly priced, has come down in quarter one of this year. Dairy also saw a reduction in price, and so did cashew. So actually it is these four commodities: flour, RPO, dairy, and cashew.
So now that you are back to the full range and the full variety, and no longer selling only those select SKUs that I guess would have been the most profitable, do you expect margin to come off sequentially, or will the deflation part make up for it?
No, Varun explained that in his presentation. So he spoke about many of the back-end efficiencies. He was talking about factory efficiency of labor, power, and fuel. Actually, we saw an efficiency improvement of 5 to 10% in the factories. We saw direct dispatches, which meant really reduction in transportation cost. We could reduce the space of the depot by almost 10% in this period. There was working capital extraction that happened, which helped improve our treasury balance. There was zero stock write-off that happened in this quarter. So many of these that he spoke of, we are in the process of trying to see how we can manage and sustain.
So we want to monetize these opportunities in the future. But your question is that how much of your gains are going to be sustainable? Obviously, there'll be ANSP, which is not coming in the gross margin, but below that, which probably is not sustainable. We will have to start, spending what we were spending earlier as we start to get full product. But we are trying to make sure that we study every possible gain that we've had and see if we can scratch out anything out of it. And we've made this into a large project for us. The entire team is involved in this, and we are going to, in the next month or so, get this ready so that we are able to get maximum out of this as we move forward.
Okay. And one more question, if I may. If let's say, I'm sure you're working with various permutations and combinations at this stage in terms of, what could happen to, to the markets, to lockdowns, to lifting of lockdowns, etc. So, my question really is that, what is the circumstance and the combination of circumstances that you see based on which you think that these super normal growth delta will start coming off, or you think they are here to stay?
Are you talking about the top line growth?
Yes, sir, the top line growth. Given that, see, the economic environment that we are living in is not all that rosy after all, right? And,
No, absolutely right. Absolutely right. So the economy is not great, obviously, because of all that's happening during this period. So all that might come to roost at some stage. But what we've seen is that, you've got to look at how, you make your business, grow at a pace which is, and we are seeing circumstances which could support our business. So we are going to take all advantage of that to make sure that we continue with a certain momentum as we go through the year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
take the next question from the line of Harit Kapoor from Investec. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Just had two questions. Firstly, on the price and mix that you spoke of, you said that 2.5% of the business was price, of the sales growth was price, and 2.5% was mix. So on either of them, firstly, is this pricing fresh pricing or is this carry forward from an earlier time? And on the mix,
it's a carry forward. It's a carry forward from earlier time.
Which would anniversarize by when, in your opinion?
So it would probably towards the third quarter or the fourth quarter of this.
Third quarter, fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You're right. Because we did all that in quarter 3 of the last
year. Yeah.
Got it. And on the mix side, now that you have, you're able to get your entire range in the market, and you spoke of that in June as well, that, you're trying to get your whole range in the market. Would we also assume that, the significant kind of uptick from mix also normalizes as we go forward now?
No. So see, even today, if you think about it, we still don't have enough capacity so that we can feed all our products to the market. So what we are doing is the value segment has taken a back seat, right? And that is a segment which is not a very large segment for us. At some stage, we would want that to be back, but it will be a slow build. So that situation will remain for a little more time. And it's not going to be a visible change, as we go forward, because slowly, steadily, we've been building variety, we've been bringing in products, etc. So it will just melt into, the overall monthly numbers as we move forward.
Very clear, sir. The second question was on the inventory pipeline that you spoke of. So, what would be the current situation? Would it still be extremely dry versus, what it was in pre-COVID levels? I mean, what were those levels earlier and what are they now? You could just help us understand.
So we used to have about 11 days of stock, which was approximately, let's say, 40,000 tons, in our system. Today, it's not more than 2 or 3 days. 3 days stock is what we carry. So it's a very, very tight, inventory and a very tight replenishment system that we are running at this point in time.
And this is as of July, as in you're running that right now as well. That's the kind of numbers you're running.
So about a 3-day stock position.
Got it. That's it for me. Thanks and all the best.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Yashvardhan Bakri for his closing comments.
I thank everyone for spending time with us on this call. We look forward to interacting with you again. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Britannia Industries Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you all for joining. You may now disconnect your lines.